This morning we're gonna start off with a 4-color print, and we're gonna set this up on the auto. So we ganged up on film, and we pretty much put 2 designs on each film just to save on film. And let's see, we're gonna put the base on a 160. We're gonna run the gold, that's a solid, on a 160, and the halftones we're gonna go ahead and put them on 175s. They do blend into each other to give it like this effect where one color goes into the other, and that's gonna look really cool. So let me go ahead and get these screens burned, and then I'm gonna come back, get them taped up, and I'm gonna show you guys the process of setting up a 4-color on the automatic. I finished washing out all the screens, and I have them over here creating like a little enclosed type of thing with the heater on, so that way they dry faster. And the only other thing that I can do to make them dry faster at this point is to buy like a small compressor, like air compressor, and just as they come out of the washout tank, I'll just blow out all the excess water that's dripping down. And then once I put it in front of the fan, they should dry super quick. It's already pretty fast, but you know, if we can speed up the process, that'll be great. So that'll be the next thing. And it looks like 2 out of the 4 are ready to go, which is the base and the gold. So let's go ahead and tape them up so we can get started with this. I don't need to fire up the flashes yet, but I do need to turn on the compressor just so I can start locking in the screens, and then we'll go from there. So let's go ahead and get started. Sure how much you guys know about using the automatic. So you know, the first thing we did is when we went ahead and mounted all the screens. So we have our base. We're gonna go ahead and flash here in the next station. We have a cool down station. We're gonna go ahead and put the purple down first. We're gonna go wet on wet with the light blue. Then we're gonna rotate all the way till the next flash, which is gonna go right there. So we have a cool station, and then we're gonna put the yellow last. So this is only gonna go around one time. Now, before I get started, because once you bring in the air to the machine, you can't move the head. We're gonna go ahead and move the head forward right to where we need it to be. So the print is gonna stop right here, and we have our sensor. So we're gonna unlock from the back, and then we're simply gonna slide this forward. Once it reaches the metal, a light is gonna turn on when the machine comes on. And it's basically gonna tell the head that that's where it's gonna stop the print. So it's gonna come forward to this sensor, go down, squeegee all the way to here, and go back up. That way we don't have to have a long stroke printing, and it's gonna be a lot faster. So right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna clean up some squeegees. Looks like we already have a light blue, we have a white, we have the gold, and we just need a purple. This is kind of like the reason why I don't like to clean my squeegees right away, because you never know if you're gonna use them again. Thankfully we have 3 out of the 4 that we're using, so it should be pretty fast and simple. So if you guys don't know how to mount the squeegees, it's pretty easy. So it has these little, see those little cuts? If you have the air locks, all you have to do is kind of like work it in there, and then slide it over. So once it's in there, you hit the airlock and it'll lock it in. I don't have the machine on, so we're just gonna mount them, and then we're gonna come back and lock everything so that we can start setting up the base and then work our way around to the rest of the colors. All right, everything is set up. Now we just, oh, check this out. I went and bought this magnet at Harbor Freight because I was having all these like being up here getting bunched up, and I didn't like that. So with this magnet, it's just so much easier, and that thing was only like $3. So definitely recommend that if you guys have metal spatulas. So we have the inks over here, and we're gonna go ahead and get started with setting up the base. So let's go ahead and set up the base, and I'm gonna show you guys how I do that. To set up the base, we're gonna go ahead and turn off the head. That way when we hit print, the whole board is gonna come up and nothing's gonna print. So now we have our screen where we want it. So pretty much we want it to have a good grip here so that when we lock it, it has a firm grip, and it's the same thing for the front and the back lock. So since we know we want the screen there, what we want to do is we want to move the T-square up to the registration mark, and we're simply going to line it up. So we're going to bring it up to the center, which is 8, because our boards are 16 inches wide. We have a registration on the top and a registration on the bottom. If you want to double check your work, make sure it's nice and straight. Once you're happy with the design being nice and straight, you go ahead and lock the front and the back at the same time. All right, we're gonna tape off the base, and then we're gonna use this to work our way around and make sure everything is lined up. Before we get started, after everything is lined up, we're gonna tape off the registration marks and run our first sample to make sure that we didn't leave any untaped. And once that gets approved, we're gonna go ahead and warm up the pallets, glue the boards, and run this order. All right, so we have our first one coming up, and as you can see, we have the clear emulsion, so we have to kind of look sideways to look for those registration marks, but all we have to do is bring them together. I do like to put one on the top and one on the bottom. So once I have them lined up, I go ahead and lock the screen, put some ink in there, make sure it's lined up. If it's not, I'll use the micro registration to make sure that I can move it back, forward, side, or to the other side. And before we start, we always like to zero this in, so we have to make sure that this is flush right here and this is flush right here. Same thing on this side, we want to make sure that everything is flush. In order to do that, we unlock these two locks, and with these two knobs you move the head forward, backwards, and with this knob you move it to the left and you move it to the right. So once you zero this out, you lock it in, you print your first sample, and then you can tweak it to whichever direction you need to. All right, now that we have ink on all of our screens, we're gonna go ahead and turn on the heads so that we can come around with the rag and make sure that we line everything up. 4, 5, and 9. Well, looks like we nailed the first one, so we don't really have to tweak anything. Let's go and see if the other ones are just as good. The thing that I like to do when I'm setting up is I like to wipe off the ink from the registration marks, and I run a tape right over the printed area. That way I can see the entire design come together with all the colors, and I can send a picture to the customer for approval like I've done in the past. So that's basically a bunch of tape layered in. I did the base, taped the base, printed the light green, taped it over, printed the darker green, taped it over, and you know, pretty much the same thing for every other thing that I do for all the designs. So let's go ahead and put a piece of tape right over this one and then print the other two colors. Okay, so all we had to do with this one was turn it down just a little bit and it was almost lined up. So like I said earlier, since we got it lined up, let's go ahead and clean off the registration marks, and then we'll tape over the purple and set up the bright blue. No! you guys. So let's take a look. This logo. There it is. We have the blue blending into the purple. We have no white showing, and we have that gold right over the whole design. So that's it. That's how you set up a 4-color. All right, so I hope this was helpful. I don't think I missed anything that's that important to set up a 4-color on the auto. It's really very simple to do it. You know, messing with the controller, it's another thing that you need to understand how to work. But if you run an auto, I mean, you pretty much got the basics on how to set up. The most important thing that I always teach people is to make sure that you have a good grip on the front and a good grip on the back, because if you don't, the screens might move on you, and as you're in the middle of the run, you know, you might have some of the colors not lining up and you're gonna have trouble. Stopping and resetting up a color is just annoying. It's a waste of time. So if you just follow these simple steps, you're gonna save yourself a lot of trouble. So thank you guys for watching. That was the 4-color setup on the automatic. If you guys have any questions, please comment below and I'll help you answer the questions in future videos, or I'll just do a quick comment to see if that'll help you. Thank you.